Hi, this is Tony Gale, and thank you for watching Claret and Blue Army TV.
Welcome to Claret and Blue Army TV with me, your host Baz Cox. Today I'm absolutely delighted to be joined by my all-time favourite hammer, Mr. Tony Gale. Tony, how are you?
Yeah, you say that to everyone who comes on here, don't you? I can't believe
No one else has got their shirts on. I've even got a Blackburn shirt. Look, that's commitment.
Well, that Blackburn shirt and that West Ham shirt go together, because that West Ham shirt actually had a big hand in Blackburn winning the title, so that's all right.
Yeah, it goes hand in hand. How are you, Tony? You all right?
Yeah, all good, all good. Frankie, Steve, you good, boys?
Yeah, all good, Tone.
Yeah, really good, mate. Thank you.
Tone, your move to West Ham come back in '84 from Fulham after 7 years at Fulham. What was the reasons for you joining West Ham? Was John Lyle a factor?
Yeah, big factor. I was more than 7 years at Fulham, Val. I was there from age 11. Okay. I was in the first team at 16. I was captain at 18 and left at 24. So I was there all that time, really. So that's
sorry. I see the thing. I see it was 77 to 84. Apologies for that.
Yeah, no, that's all right. No, it was. You'll remember, you guys, anyway, because Bobby Moore. I made my debut when Bobby was in America. In the Anglo-Scottish Cup. So the next, because Bobby didn't miss a game that season when he come back. Ain't a bad thing to say, is it? Bobby Moore kept you out the side when he was 16 years of age, I suppose, is it? Because he weren't bad, was he? But no, when that was, my contract was running out at Fulham, and it was the very, very first years of when contracts were running out, and then you were free to do what you wanted to do. It wasn't that I didn't want to sign for Fulham, but I thought that Fulham's appetite had gone, because I was really happy there. I was well respected there because I've been there quite a long time. I'd had 330 games by the time I left at 24. So no, I was really happy there. But obviously the chairman had failed to invest the previous season after I left, because we were very close to getting promoted into the old Division 1 or Premier League or whatever you want to call it. But then I was a bit gutted. But then my contract having run out, the story goes that in the summer, there was nothing happening, and I'm thinking, cool, I'm not as good as I thought I was, am I? No one's coming in for me. I can't believe it. You know, everyone's telling me what a good player I am. No one's coming in. And then all of a sudden, 2 teams came in on the same day. Obviously, the word gets round on the drums, doesn't it? So Chelsea tried to sign me on the same day as West Ham. And that was within an hour, knocking on the door of each other. John Lyle and Eddie Bailey knocked on the door. And that morning, John Neal and Ian McNeil asked if they could speak to me as well. So I said, look, I'm speaking to West Ham at 11 o'clock. Is it all right? An hour or two. So I spoke to John and Eddie, so kind of sold the club to me. And then I had the other 2 come in from Chelsea. But John said, we ain't going away. Me and Eddie are going down the pub round the corner. Where's a good pub? We'll wait down the pub till Chelsea are gone. And then we'll come back to see what your decision is, because we don't want to talk on the phones. We love doing the personal thing.
Yeah.
But after both clubs had spoken to me, and me being a Chelsea supporter when I was a kid, I didn't tell my dad that Chelsea was speaking to me, but you would think that it would be a no-brainer to go to Chelsea. But John sold it, and it was a no-brainer. You know, my missus as well said, you cannot not go with that man. He's a lovely man. We did. Yeah.
Was there the connection with Bobby Moore with Fulham and West Ham? Did that have any involvement for you as well, or was that not really in your mind?
No, well, it did, because I was always supposed to be the next Bobby Moore. They always said, like, you know, because I had the 6th shirt at Fulham after Moore, and like he was my hero, you know. So
was he really helpful to you, Tone? As a young, like, was he a big influence on you? He'd like spend time with you helping you out.
Yeah, Steve used to give me a lift home now and again, because
that's
I
handy,
used to live in. Oh, yeah. Occasionally, if you were injured, you had to come back in the afternoons, and I'm sure it was rigged up by the manager or my apprentice manager at the time that, you know, say to Bobby, spend a bit of time with Tony, you know, like blah blah blah. So he had I'll never forget, boys. He had a yellow Jag. It was the absolute. Nearly swore. It was the absolute nuts. You know, it was the nuts. And so he come in with treatment, and the apprentice trainer used to come down, Ken Craggs, and he'd go, look, we're going to let you go home a little bit early, boys. You do Tony's chores for the day, do yours tomorrow. Moro said he'd give you a lift home. So I lived in West London, but you had to go through West London to get to East London. And he used to drop me off. So I was about half hour, 40 minutes in the Jag with him. I used to shit myself. I never had a word to say, never asked. I just spoke when spoken to. But he was, honestly, going home in that Jag, windows down, hoping that everyone would spot you. You know what I mean? Next to the World Cup winning captain. And like, I used to make him drop me, because I lived on an housing estate in Pimlico. I used to make him drop me at the shops where my friends used to sit on the wall. You know, like they'd all left school, all out of work and all that. But I used to make him drop me there so that they saw me getting out the yellow Jag.
Blinding.
And having not said a word, I never said a word to him the whole trip. Bob, I'm just like, yeah, no, if you ask me a question, how are you enjoying your training? You know, have to do this, you do that. Yeah, Bob, no, Bob. Anyway, when I get out of the car and all my mates are sitting on the wall and I tell the story, I used to go to him, see you later, Bob. It's next time tomorrow, same time tomorrow. All right, mate.
I remember things like that. So when you used to take me training in your old silver, was it a Scorpio or Granada or something? And it had your name down the side of the door.
Full Granada Bell.
I remember it. Sussex Beach.
Sussex Beach Holiday Village.
I remember it,
It's funny because I lived out in Surrey and I used to pick up Parksy and Dev on the way to training, you know. So there wasn't no M25 then, was there? So you'd have to come through town really early. And I used to drive down because it got West Ham all down the car and West Ham signs. And I used to be going down the A3. I don't know if you know the A3, but it's up the other end.
That's where you used to pick me up.
Yeah, come down the A3 and all of a sudden I've got people cutting me up and everything. I'm thinking, what's going on here? Everybody's lunatic on the road. Of course, Chelsea supporters, Spurs supporters, you've got West Ham all down the side of your car, haven't you? Ah, it was a car that fell, wasn't it?
Great time. Did it often get the face though or not?
Did it what, mate?
Did it often get smashed up the car with the West Ham all over it?
No, only when you were sitting in the baby seat. Cool. Mind you, boys, you know Barry's a bit of a lump. You can imagine the size of the baby seat, couldn't you?
That weren't a booster seat, was it? After 2 years at West Ham, so we had what in our time the highest league finish in Division 1 in the '86. What was that side like?
Top side. I mean, I was lucky. I see the other shirt behind you where I won it at Blackburn, but that West Ham top side I thought was better than the Blackburn team that I actually won it with. And I'd have far preferred to win the league with West Ham, you know, having been there for 10 years, than, you know, winning it 1 year at Blackburn. You know, it's got a big place in my heart, Blackburn. It was brilliant and all, but I'd far preferred to have won it with all my, what I call my pals, and still my pals to this day, honestly. But that side, it's funny, I was having a TC came round the other day and we were just in the garden having a chat and keeping our social distance, mind. And he said that, you know, like he's this big stat man, isn't he? You know, Tony, like, you know, boring really, but he's into stats. So we're just having a chat and he went, do you know, mate, I've had time to reflect. He said, and do you know, he said, I've done something the other day. West Ham, that team still holds 17 different records that haven't been beaten for that season. And he listed the 17 record-breaking things, like stupid things, most home wins, most away wins, most points, obvious things like that. Yeah. Obviously, he did mention the fact that him and McAvenny got a lot of goals, so I had to put up with that one. But most for the strike partnership to get the goals. Honestly, there was 17 different records. Most games won in succession, league games in a season. You know, honestly, like all the games that everyone played, everything.
I think the thing about that season, and when we didn't win the league, then it was like, you know, you get teams at the end and they get a couple of dicky results and people say they bottled it. That team didn't bottle it, did it? It went on an amazing run at the end, won all them games, but Liverpool just kept going as well, didn't they? Well, and Everton.
Yeah, Steve, they were top teams, weren't they? Liverpool and Everton were like Man City now and Liverpool, I suppose, weren't they? Yeah. But we were the ones in between. But when you speak to those guys from Liverpool and Everton, they say we were the best team that year. You know, people say we blew it at the end because we had a bad result against Chelsea. I don't know if
the Chelsea game's the one that sticks out, I think. But
yeah,
it was quite.
That was Go on.
It was quite early, like in the season. It wasn't right at the end of the Chelsea game, though, was it? After that, you won like loads of games in a row.
Yeah, but that did cock us up a little bit. It just made us stutter. I mean, I was lucky. I played every minute of every game in the leagues and the cups that season. Apart
That's
from
mad
that
when you think at the end as well how thick and fast them games come.
Yeah, but that's better sometimes. Yeah. If you're on a bit of a roll, that's better. Most of us boys then preferred playing to training anyway. You know, that's why sometimes I can't understand the psyche of footballers now. Like, maybe you'll speak about it a bit later, you know, once we come out of lockdown going, oh, we got 9 games to play in 5 weeks. And you think, oh, come on, boys.
Yeah.
That's a doddle. That is a doddle. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
This winter break as well. If you've got momentum, why would you want that winter break? Why would you want that period of where you can sort of get out of rhythm a little bit?
Well, without that winter break, Liverpool would have already won the league. They were flying, and it affected them coming back.
Yeah, no one knew what was going to happen, obviously, with the stuff that has happened. But I was not an advocate of the winter break anyway, because, you know, and also, like, you're talking about they want to have this break over the Christmas period. You as fans, me now, as, you know, I want to go to football. I still want to work and commentate on football on New Year's Day and Boxing Day and the Saturday in between and everything. That's part of it. And, you know, when they come out of the game, they'll realise that they've missed those, what I call the festive games, because some of my best memories are in those games. Absolutely brilliant.
And to be honest, that festive period, as much as, you know, I don't dislike it in any way, but it does get a bit boring. And football breaks it up. And it's a real big part of it, because all family can come together because everyone's off work and everyone's got more time than they usually have. And I remember a lot of the time, that was when my family was all around. And I remember going Boxing Day as a kid. You know, those games are brilliant. It's a real shame if you was to lose some of that.
Well, you would have seen it from the supporter side as I see it now. But when I was playing, that was a time when, because of me, my family got together, because they'd all turn up for the Boxing Day game. They'd all be at the New Year's game. And you, the same as supporters. That would be, oh, you're going Boxing Day, we're playing Spurs Boxing Day. Yeah, oh yeah. And you'd all meet up, wouldn't you? And you'd probably have a little drink before the game or after the game. And then you would go home again, didn't you? Yeah. It is. And, you know, you do get cheesed off with Christmas, don't you? You want to get out. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I couldn't eat too much again. You mentioned them being like good memories, Tone. One of the worst memories for you's got to be the 91 semi-final, innit? With a certain Mr. I can't even say his name. It brought me to tears that day.
That career-threatening challenge you made.
Yeah, there was.
I was there that day, right in line, in the seats, right in line where that happened. Gutted.
Well, you were there longer than me, mate. I've got to tell you. It was, but in a funny kind of way, although you were gutted, and the 3 of you would be gutted, and as I was, but didn't it say it all for West Ham's fans? You know, didn't it say it all?
Billy Bonds,
what other fans? Yeah, I mean, there weren't, Steve, there weren't hard lyrics to learn, were they? But to sing them for,
I still remember them now.
For 60 minutes. That is, I think people now, they still sing that, don't they?
Yeah.
Billy Bonds.
That was amazing.
Yeah.
That was when Gary Charles scored the 4th goal, you couldn't even hear them cheer.
But it just got louder and louder, didn't it?
Yeah, it was brilliant.
The funny thing was, when I got sent off, and I do all stories about it, but the funny thing was, having got sent off and been ready, because it was 22 minutes, so in the dressing room, and I have, you know, waiting for the lads to come in. I'm all ready to, you know, like I'm going home, aren't I? So I thought, what am I going to do? I want to watch the second half. But you're not allowed to enter the field of play, are you? Like, if you notice that once you get sent off, you're not allowed to come back, are you? So anyway, I didn't know the rules. So they're all walking out, and I started to walk out with Bill and the coaches. And this geezer, Sue from the FA, comes up and he goes, he can't go out. And I went, what do you mean he can't go out? I know I've been sent off. What do you mean? But, well, it's the rules. And Bonzo said, he is going out. He's coming down in the dugout with me. And the geezer went, he's coming out. Actually sat in the dugout. It was unbelievable, wasn't it? Eh?
Brilliant.
It's a bit of a shame that West Ham used to have a CD that they used to release, and it had every West Ham manager, Claret and Blue Army, on the track on the CD. And obviously every manager we used to sing that song for. And since Harry Redknapp, we've never sung it. And it's because I don't think we've had a manager that we've wanted to get behind in the same way as those managers back then. So it's a bit of a shame that that's carried out that way, really.
Yeah, some of them have got longer names, haven't they?
I think Bilic might have got his name sung at a time, didn't he?
Yeah, I like Bilic.
Yeah.
He was all right.
What
When you
was
talk about managers, Tone, and especially that '86 season, what sort of influence? What was John Lyall all about? What made him so important?
What made him important? Basically, we all had a respect for the man, because if you was signed by John, you were part of the family. It wasn't just West Ham Football Club. He treated you like family. So he knew your mum and dad's name, he knew your wife's names, your kids' names, Christmas parties, we had for the kids and everything. John would get all the presents. Everybody got a turkey to take home. That was our bonus, the turkey. But he was just a top man, someone who cared, So you got all the other aspects that he's got to do within a football club, but he actually cared about the person. So if you was having a bad time, you wasn't forgotten. Like some managers go, "Oh, get him training over there with the reserves, get him out of the way." No, you was part of it. You was part of it because he signed you and you were part of that football club. So if he signed you and you were part of that football club and you hadn't played particularly well, you wasn't discarded, and you wasn't made to feel like a discard. You was made to feel part of the family, and that is very, very important. Too many managers now.
I was going to say, do you think there's any managers left in football like that or not?
Very hard now, Bal, because they like to work within a certain criteria of members of the squad and keep them together. So it's a little bit more of a different game in that respect. But I do believe the best managers, like Guardiola, like Klopp, they really do look after their players, and you can see the closeness that they got, not just with the players that are on the pitch, but the players that are on the bench as well. And you can see that closeness, can't you?
Yeah, you
that's caring. That is caring.
And was he quite no nonsense as well?
Oh yeah, he had a bit of a streak in him. You didn't mess about him.
Yeah.
He didn't mess about him. I don't think I'd heard anyone answer him back really. So you had that respect for him, because when he spoke with authority. Like, we're doing this or we're doing that. Not what should we do? Yeah. Or like some managers, like, you could see them kind of shitting themselves, not thinking what to do in the next thing. But whatever John said went, and no one had that, questioning him kind of thing. Top man. You could go and knock on the door at any time. You had a problem, you could go and knock on the door, but you wouldn't question what he was doing.
No. Why do you think after the '86 season, I mean, within 3, we were relegated? Why do you think that team never kicked on?
Well, if you look at that '86 season, not a lot of us got injured, did we? We were pretty, like most. You could name the 11, apart from 2 positions that kind of altered now and again. It was either, you would say, Stevie Walford or George Paris at left back, or Neil Waugh or Jeff Pike in midfield. The rest of them was the same, the 11. Even Paul Goddard only got the odd game because he got injured at the start of the season. So McAvenny and Cotty did really well. So that was it. But it stayed the same. So there was 9 players who virtually nearly played all the games, and then that other 2 positions alternated. Both those positions were very good players as well. That's not saying anything against them. They were top players.
Who would you say is the best player you've played with at West Ham, Tone?
And that's easy. That's Alan Devonshire. Alan Devonshire, yeah.
Because so many of you say that.
So many of us say it, you say?
I've heard that loads of...
Well, he was that good.
I've heard loads of players that much across the board say Devonshire.
Yeah, and I think it was easy because, because Dev just would take the ball in any position and he would lure players to him. He could accept a challenge. He could take a kick, but he could go past players like you'd never believe. Even when he came back after his bad cruciate ligament injury, he could go past players just like drift. But them having to double up on him, like a wide player and a fullback doubling up on him to stop him, would give players more room. So Tony Cottee used to play sort of on that left side of the striker, and I used to be left side of the central defender. So if he slipped you the ball, you had more space. You could do. I used to like coming out the back. Tony was like good, like receiving, turning, getting shots away, getting down the side of the defenders. But it would give you that little bit of space. And what the fans don't realise is that what bravery you've got to have to accept the ball in every position that he does, and accept the clumps and accept the bad times, the shit pitches, the good pitches, and still do it week in and week out. And when they start saying, when players have a good time at West Ham, like Canio was good in his time, Dimitri Payet was good in his time, say Anderson was good in his time, Joey Cole was good in his time. No one done it week after week, home, away, whatever, like they've absolutely superb.
Wicked.
Yeah, I remember something as well that people used to say with John Lyall, that he used to say, if you get injured because someone kicks you, you wasn't fast enough.
I'd have been injured every week.
Well, he was, yeah, it was quite funny because we was talking about that Chelsea game. You know, I had to come off at half time and we lost to Chelsea. And it wasn't because, you know, I was a great player or whatever, but we were so settled. But Neil wore out to go into the back four and we had to change around. So Neil hadn't really played without him, and we got a bit unsettled for the second half and they beat us. So I'm sitting there in the dressing room afterwards. My legs come up like this, but on my fives, what we call a dead leg, but it was like a toba. So I'm sitting there in the bath afterwards and it is killing me. And John says, we got Watford Saturday. It's a big game. We've got to bounce back after this. He said, you're going to be fit, aren't you? And I went, John, it's absolutely killing me. He said, I'm not asking if you're going to be fit. You are going to be fit. And I turned up on a Saturday morning because we went to Upton Park to get the coach over at Watford. So I turned up and I had to come in early for a bit of treatment. I still couldn't touch my thigh. I was so sore. And I'm sitting in having a bath. And I was sitting there like that. And John said, are you fit? And I went, yeah. But that's what it meant to have the people alongside you, you know, would go through that pain barrier. You know, I'm not saying I was Captain Brave or whatever, but it was important that the rest of the lads saw that you would go through something, you know.
Yeah.
Why was it so good playing with Alvin? You played with him for years. What was it like being his partner there?
Yeah, Alvin was different to me. He was the more aggressive of the two of us. He liked to have a tear up now and again, didn't he, Alvin? He could lose it and everything. But
The good-looking one.
Yeah, no, Alvin was a good all-round player. Not only could he like head it and attack the ball, but he could play as well. So both of us, I would say, wasn't blessed with the amount of pace. You know, they say, oh, you got to have pace and you got to have this. And I always say, well, Bobby Moore didn't have pace, but he knew where the ball was going to go. John Terry never had pace, but he knew where the ball was going to go. But we were both good readers of the game, and we made the team to play to our strength, where we sat deep, we could play out defence, and then it had more room over the top for Frank or Tony if we wanted to go short or long. So we knew how to play for it, you know. So no one really got isolated in positions that they didn't want to be in. And that team suited us down to the ground. Yeah, he was a top player, Alvin, top player.
And he played for England. Did you ever think that you should have got a crack?
Yeah, of course I do. Bloody hell, my mum said I should have got 100 caps.
My mum told me, this is puppy fan, I'll grow out of it. I'm 39.
I think at the time, when I look at some of the players who did get caps in front of me, I ain't going to mention names, but I used to think, oh, I'm better than him. But I was a player of a different. I was a player, wasn't I? I wasn't like a centre back, head it, kick it, like whatever. And Alvin was good at everything like that. But I'd like to have seen what we could have done together in that England side. Actually, would have been good.
He was unlucky in '86, wasn't he? The Paraguay game, and then he got dropped the next game.
Yeah, Alvin probably should have had more caps than what he had. But Des Walker was around it. Remember Des at the time?
Yeah, he was
around
brilliant.
at the time. So they used to favour someone like Des, he wasn't maybe as good on the ball as maybe what we was, but he's very quick. Terry Butcher was the big kind of strong centre back, wasn't he? So, and once players get in there, it's very hard to dislodge them.
Yeah.
Moving on to 94, Tony, after 10 years at West Ham and 300 appearances, you had your testimonial, which was against the Republic of Ireland. I remember it well because my dad's company sponsored the match ball on the day. But there was bad news delivered to you that day just before kick-off, wasn't there, from people at the club?
Yeah, 369 games, Bell, not 300. 369.
I said over 300, didn't I?
No, you said 300. Do your homework.
I didn't mean exactly.
If we're going to come on these shows, you've got to do your homework, all right? I'm media trained.
I'm never getting into Sky
anymore. Yeah, we played Southampton the day before. We drew. We stayed up that season. We drew 3-3. I think we just got a couple of goals against us. And then we played. The first thing I had jumped with the club, they'd agreed a 2-year contract with me, the chairman and Peter Story. They'd agreed a 2-year contract with me. So that was fine. So I was 34 at the time. So in that terms, that was good of the club to give me a 2-year contract. But the first thing I jumped with was, you can have a testimonial, but it was the day after the game against Southampton. I mean, 30,000 fans had turned up for the last home game of the season. You know, you can imagine, and then you all go out for a drink. Sunday afternoon, I've got my testimonial. So my game gets hit, doesn't it? So I have about 8,500, which is great with the West Ham fans who turned up for that. Thank you very much. It was brilliant. But, you know, that would have been 20,000. You know, that would have been 20,000 and a much better occasion. But having got there, got into the ground, and I saw Dev, who come back. He was saying, he was talking to Billy and Harry, and he said something like, well, I think you should tell Tony now. And I was like, well, what? You know, I was trying to sort out tickets for the family and where they was all going to go. And they said, oh, can you come in the office, Billy and Harry? And I said, yes. What's the matter? And they went, oh, we're not going to give you that 2-year contract now. And I went, do what? I said, 2-year contract. I said, we'd agreed it. Everything was agreed. I weren't going to argue on the day of my testimonial anyway. You know, too many other things to think about with all the family, mum, dad, kids, wife, everything. So I said, oh, why's that? No, we've been thinking about it. We're not going to give you the 2-year contract. Oh, like, you can imagine what I said, didn't I? You know, like, thanks for flipping bunch, can we say on here? Thanks for flipping bunch. You know, thanks for that. All right, I'll just get on with the game. And Harry calls me back and says, oh, I'd just like to say, could I, is it okay? I've invited a lad down here for a trial today called Marcus Stewart. I don't know if you remember him. We want to have a look at him in the game. Can we play him in your game? So not only are they telling me I ain't got a 2-year contract, they want to play players that I haven't even known in my testimonial game. I went, yeah, fine, because the lad had come down. He looked like a really nice bloke as well. You know, you don't want to say no, someone who's made that effort. So he ended up playing in the game. Yeah, so no 2-year contract. So
what was the agenda there? Why do you think they asked at that moment in time? Because that's not the time to ask or to break that information to you. Why do you think they chose that time to do it?
Well, they obviously had the chat as manager and assistant manager. And one, I don't know. I was playing in the team at the time, and the answer to that, you know, I have feelings of my own about it, but the answer to that is I don't know. You know, and that was sad, really, because you spend 10 years at a football club, and then I'm walking out on the pitch. I've got mixed emotions, and I'm like, oh, flipping hell, like, you know, I've got a great day ahead of me. The Republic boys turned up like en masse for the game. Andy Townsend, Ray out, and they had a good, you know, decent full strength team out, and I couldn't show, you know, that I was down because there's so many people who put themselves out for me on my day. And it weren't till we had a bit of a drink afterwards that I told all my family. Of course, they wanted to rip everyone's head off. They wanted to go back to the club, didn't they? But we could, you know, what was done, and that was it. Goodbye. You know, even if I'd have known before, and I could have said to the fans, this is my goodbye.
Yeah.
That would have been better if I'd have known a week before. But to make that decision then, after I'd been offered the contract, I think it was a stinker
bad timing, which led to you going to Blackburn and becoming a Premier League winner though, Tony. And there's one of your shirts. Look.
Well, yeah, it's funny how it all turns out, isn't it? And it's like that I was a player that they required at that time. It wasn't like, oh, let's go and get the best centre back in the Premier League. I'm not kidding myself because I was 34. But Kevin Moran, who was Man United and went to Blackburn, he'd retired at the end of that season. So Ray Arford, who was the coach, cutting a long story short, because it was only 2 weeks before the season started that they rang me, and I was keeping fit, hoping I would look like I was going to go to Japan, play for Aussie Ardealers out there. The family didn't, my missus didn't want me to go. My dad went, yeah, come on, we'll have some of that. I'll come with you. He said, I'll give up the cab driving for a year. We'll do that, Japan for a year. But no, decided against that. And then 2 weeks before the season, Ray Arford calls me up and says, can you get to Celtic tomorrow night, Hampden Park? I went, what's the matter, Ray? He went, look, you know, we've decided, Kenny and I, like we need someone experienced around the boys. Just want to have a look at you. Are you fit? I said, yeah, of course I'm fit. I weren't. But I said, yeah, of course I'm fit. I said, yeah, so I went down to Celtic. We played Celtic at Hampden Park. And I immediately after the game, they went, right, we want you to come back. I think that was on the Sunday or the Monday night, Sunday or Monday. They said, have a couple of days off, come back to Blackburn, come and sign your contract for the year. And there's a game Saturday. So I went, I didn't even realise it. I said, where's the game Saturday? They went, oh, we're playing Man United at Wembley. I went, oh, of course, yeah. I've been in 3 semi-finals with West Ham, didn't get to Wembley. We got knocked out in 3 semi-finals, 2 League Cups and an FA Cup. And then I'm playing within 4 days of signing for Blackburn at Wembley against Man United.
Was that the first time you played there?
Yeah, first time. Well, I played in there in a couple of other games, press games and God knows what, but not played a proper game at Wembley, no. So it was hilarious. It was like kind of surreal, wasn't it? Like you think, like after West Ham in the Premier League, you're going to go maybe have to step down or maybe a team in and around West Ham if you're lucky. But then you're going to the team who finished second the previous season. And when I got there, like the lads were great. They were absolutely good. There was a young bunch of players. Like proper steely-minded boys, but really great.
What was Kenny like to play for?
Yeah, he was class. He was class. I couldn't understand a word he was saying, but he was class. He used to train with us mainly on a Friday in the five-a-sides, and he was still a quality player. He was 40-odd then, but what a man, you know, like because he was a bit like John Lyle in that he was very into knowing people's. Very good with names. I think that's important in life. Not, all right, mate, you know, no, everybody's name. And that was what the owner, Jack Walker, was like. He knew everybody's name as well. He was terrific.
Yeah, fair shout. Well, what do you think the difference is time now with footballers compared to back then? Do you think they're too protected and wrapped up in cotton wool? Because I go back to my time again as a kid, like back in the 80s in the East Stand with a family enclosure, and you always had a player come over before the game into the Junior Hammers Lounge, and we could get near you and like stand with you, have pictures, arms round you, blah blah blah. We can't get there. Well, kids can't get that now. The best you get is a man out of a car window, for example. Yeah,
and that was part of. Do you know that was the manager, John Lyle? There was Junior Hammers, like you said, Bal, wasn't it?
Yeah.
You know, and you know the guys who run that done a great job. But John would go, "It's your turn. Over you go." You know, if you weren't in the squad that day, match day, over you go and meet all the kids. Or if you were injured, something like that, go over there. And not any one of us had a problem with that. And like when you come out the car park afterwards, you know how it used to be, the car park. You know, there'd be loads of kids about or the grown-ups getting autographs, not a problem. Try and get an autograph now. Oh, it's like, where are you going? What are you going to do? You're going to be selling that or whatever. So what if people are selling them? There's so many people that are not selling them. Yeah. They're the people that matter, aren't they? You know, that they just get a little picture with someone or whatever. I know that it can drive people potty. And you know, even in our day, there was the odd idiot who wind you up. You know, like, oh, can I still now? Because, you know, I still do a bit of telly and all that. So can I have a photo of you? And then they give you the camera. You know, and then you have, like, they think it's funny. And you go, do you know how many times I've heard that before, that joke? Do you know what I mean? They think you're some kind of plum who doesn't know anything about it. You know what I mean? But it's those people make it harder you know, and they try to make jokes of footballers and all that. They make it harder for the people who do really care, who do really want an autograph, who do really want that engagement with the players. It's not all players, you know. You'll know because you boys are around. I mean, Declan's terrific.
Great, yeah.
Mark Noble's good. I hope Deck doesn't lose it. Now he's getting to a, you know, more sort of in the news and in the public eye. I hope he doesn't get let down by people abusing it, that sort of stuff that he does do. But there's some of the guys are really good. But I know you're all sectioned off. The car park at well, it ain't West Ham, is it? The other stadium. It's downstairs now, so no one can get near the players, is it? So you're looking, because I go there for the TV, so I see them. But all the fans are above the balcony, and that's about as close as they get to them, isn't it? And you know, okay, when you came outside sometimes and we lost the game, you still sign the autographs. You've got to take it on the chin. Some people might have had a little pop at you, like, "Oh, you were crap today," all you like, and you go, "Well, yeah, sorry about that." But you have to take the good, and you have to take the bad, don't you?
Yeah.
Where did the move sit with you, Tony? Was it something you felt we needed to do to progress the club, or was that sort of what we all saw as our spiritual home? Was that not worth sacrificing?
I was against it, and I still say we could have stayed there. Because I still think we've lost a bit of something. And I'll never change my opinion about it. I'll never change my opinion about it because that ground was where it was in the hub, wasn't it, of everything. And I know, like, supposedly it's easier to get to Stratford and it's easier to do this, that or the other. But that was our home. That was our home. And that could have been closed in on the corners. There was planning permission for that as well. So that stadium could have gone up to a capacity of about 42. And I know football's got to progress, and everybody will say football's got to progress, you've got to do this, you've got to do that. But when I go to West Ham now, I don't see all West Ham fans. I see a lot of tourists at times. I don't see... If I went to Upton Park, everybody down Green Street would have spotted you, seen you, do whatever. You could walk down the thoroughfare now. Maybe that's better, and that's getting more money for the club. But we lost so much. I think we lost so much coming away from there, and also the poor people who had all their businesses around there as well. We've lost that. But having said that, and we are at the new ground, we got to make the most of it because it's not coming back. Upton Park's not coming back, but. I bet you boys will go. I know where you say you'd rather go. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
But I don't feel
let me down. Don't let me down and say the other stadium, will you?
No chance.
I think a lot of people don't feel that they are making the most of it and they are progressing though. That's the frustrating thing. We've gone there and stood still. We've nearly been relegated 3 times.
Yeah, I mean, the investment thing. I suppose you're talking about it, Steve, aren't you, as well?
Yeah.
You know, we were told that, you know, by going to 60,000 crowds that we were going to be competing with the best, we were going to be doing this, that and the other. But I would say that wouldn't have been necessarily the board's fault. The only mistakes they made is they've made the wrong appointments. You know, they made the wrong appointment, or one in particular, in Pellegrini, for me, was a poor appointment. Because I virtually thought he'd retired by going to China after Man City. And then we bring him out of retirement, and really we've gone nowhere. That has put us back again, where you're supposed to. I think Steve said it earlier on. What happened after '86 for us? We didn't kick on. We should have got more players in. We were doing really well, but maybe John was guilty of thinking that's enough, and we only signed 1 or 2. But we could have signed 4 or 5 more players while he's at the top, and keep refreshing it. And that's what we haven't done, West Ham, have we? And when we have bought, we've had the money. They haven't been good signings, have they? They've not. There's been
do you think they've backed Slaven Bilic enough or not, Tom?
No, I think if Slav had the money that Pellegrini had, he'd have made a far better job of it.
Yeah.
I was gutted for Slav.
Yeah, I was a Slav fan, you know.
Yeah.
And I think that it was associated for you boys as well because he played for the club. He didn't have. I know he only had 18 months or whatever, but he still played for the club and he still kind of knew the feelings, didn't he? And he had Dixie with him, of course, as well. So That's a good thing. I'm so pleased for those two that they've gone to West Brom, and touch wood, they get promoted now because they've done so well. But Slav,
I'm pleased for
think of
them.
it, we played some good football under Slav, didn't we?
Yeah.
Lanzini was at his best with Payet, wasn't he? Those two, when they were in full flow, that was good to watch, wasn't it? And then,
but there was others in that team as well.
investment.
In that team as well, you had the way it worked with Criswell that season under him, because he had Payet in front of him. He was amazing as well. The whole team, that last season at Upton Park, the whole team pulled together. Then it just fell apart for him.
That was probably Mark Noble's best season I've seen in the West Ham shirt as well.
Yeah,
I'm honest.
I agree.
Yeah, I mean, I used to enjoy commentating on his teams because I thought they played with a little bit of a swagger, didn't they? And, and Payet, whether you loved him or hated him, the way he left the club. I mean, when he played, and I used to take free kicks as well, but the pressure used to build on him every free kick, but he never failed, did he? Like when he went out, I mean, you boys would be more into it than me, but I was as a fan myself. When he goes to Man United and the free kick gets delayed for about 45 seconds, and the whole West Ham fans, we got Payet, Dimitri. So it's building and building and building for 45 seconds, and then he's still got to run up and take it. You know, when you get a free kick, you want to get on it straight away. It all got to build up, and then he puts it in. Oh, I was happy. I couldn't believe it.
It weren't as good as your one against Liverpool, though, Tony.
Yeah.
It weren't as good against your one. It weren't as good as your one against Liverpool in that 4-1 win.
He's got lighter balls, Bow, and he's all right. It was like kicking a medicine ball. You try curling a medicine ball. He was great.
You mentioned about commentary. What made you get into that and not into coaching or managing and things like that?
Well, do you know what? The one regret I've had in my life is that I didn't. And I got an offer to stay at Blackburn when that season finished. And I got an offer to stay in a coaching capacity. I didn't even have my badges or anything, but because I was a senior player and we were all good around the group, I think they wanted to keep me on. But I came back to London to the missus and the kids. It's probably the biggest, well, not the biggest mistake because I've had a good life anyway, but you never know what you'd have done in the coaching world. And imagine someone saying, or the managing world, do you want a job? Do you want to stay here as a coach? Don't forget, we just won the Premier League and we're going to play in the Champions League next year. And I said no, because I thought I had another year left in me playing, and I wanted to get back to London because she didn't want to go up there and all that. So I came back to London, signed for Palace, and I got injured, and that was me done. So that was my biggest regret. But don't get me wrong, I still haven't got any regrets about what I've done, for the radio and the TV. Because not many people like you would appreciate it. I've got the best seat in the ground all over the world. There's no final that I haven't commentated on, from an amateur final to World Cup finals. I've got the best seat in the ground, and I've done over 2,300 live games now. So, and lucky enough, I get to do a lot of West Ham games, don't I? As my fans abroad, I'm very big in Australia and America when they go out there. No one knows me at West Ham apart from Aussies and Americans.
Is it that bit that's missing that you said there, with no regrets, but it slightly sort of missed that part of the coaching and the managerial side? Is that what drove you to chair Walton Casuals and get involved in that sort of capacity down there?
Yeah, because that was local to me, Frankie. So that was all right, and I had a family connection with it. So I've been doing it for 15 years now. So it was a way of kind of giving something back. So I dropped down the levels. I didn't want to manage. I helped them one season because my cousin was the manager and my boy was playing, and they won a league. We was in remember the rise of AFC Wimbledon when they come back? Yeah. It was about them that we came through the next season because they won our league that season and we won it the next season. So we're in a good position now. We got an academy. We got a brand new stadium that's worth about, I think it was 17 million to build. It's not ours, it's the council's. It's the same kind of deal as West Ham, really, where we pay the rent. So that suits us for a non-league club, really. But it's a lovely stadium, 4G pitch. We've got all the kids on it. We've got ladies' teams. We've got an academy with a school in and everything. So it's all it's kind of gone up and up and up, not as quick as I wanted it to, but we are just to explain to you, we're just below Conference South, if you know non-league football. We're one league below that. So we're quite close, close to it. I'll get you a couple of tickets if we draw West Ham in the FA Cup.
Nice.
Well,
as long as you three ain't banned.
Can we wear our GSB out t-shirts?
if top league football doesn't resume, then that might give us a way of getting a bit of football anyway. So I'd be very interested in coming down and seeing a game down there.
Yeah, you'll have to, come down. The chairman invites you. You're really invited. You're going to have to smarten up, though, the three of you, I've got to tell you.
What's your opinion?
I know Anthony's managed Walton for you, but how comes you've never had someone like Dev there? Because obviously Dev would have been at Hampton and Richmond when AFC Wimbledon were on their way back, wasn't he?
Yeah, well, with Dev, when I finished at Palace, that was my last season, I got injured. So Dev asked me, he was manager at Maidenhead at the time, where it turns out he's gone full circle, he's gone back there now. So he asked me to go down to Maidenhead and help him as player coach while I was doing part-time work on, you remember Capital Gold? I was doing Capital Gold with Jonathan Pearce, I was doing that. So it suited me. I went down there with Dev and I was player coach. They hadn't won a trophy in 40-odd years and we won a trophy that year. And I was player coach because I couldn't train but I could play because I had a dodgy ankle. And so I'd done that for 15 months. Absolutely loved it. He had to convince me to go down there because I thought, because I'd come out of the Premier League, going into non-league football, people were just going to be kicking me or giving it to me or whatever. But it was totally different. They were like respectful of the fact that a player had come down the levels to start again. People were picking me up off the floor. Oh, sorry about that, Tom. Oh, sorry, Mr. Gale, and all this guy. I go, hold on, boys, we're playing a game of football here. But it was great fun. But I got the offer to go full time then. But then Dev, then I took over sort of Walton Casuals. But in all honesty, Dev was too expensive for me to get as manager.
Did you find it easier dropping the standard? Did you find you stood out because of your experience in that? Yeah,
what it was, Dave, was that the boys weren't quite on the same wavelength. You know what I mean? Like, you can imagine after playing with Shearer and Sutton for a season and all, and it was difficult. But I'll tell you what, their honesty and application was different class. But I just loved it. Honestly. There were some good players there, mind you, good players who probably could have had decent careers if their attitudes were a bit better.
What's your take on football returning at the moment? Is that something that you have an opinion on? And for the non-league boys, obviously, it's as much as it's not so much of a living, it's still something that's part of their life. Are they itching to kind of get back, or are they sort of not really wanting to do too much at the moment?
Well, if you think about it, our season effectively would just be ending now, or about a week ago, wouldn't it? Like May, halfway through May. So they'd only be in their break anyway, wouldn't they? So it's going to be difficult for us. But if you think about it, there's going to be 1,400 players out of contract in June. So the trickle-down effect is going to happen, and they're going to be coming down to our levels. And we're not going to be able to afford to pay the money we paid last season because we're not going to get the gates. We can't have the functions to run the dues because the dues generate the income. The sponsors are not going to be as forthcoming because that's disposable income for sponsors. That's going to be difficult. So players are going to be playing for less money as they come down the leagues. I tell you, life-changing ain't the word for it for football. What's going to happen? Everybody keeps talking about Premier League. It's not just.
Do you think that could be a positive?
I try to look at it as positive in that the players are going to have to do it. The next range of contract that comes up for Premier League players, for instance, you'll find that unless you're a world-class player, of course, those players are going to have to take less money because the clubs.
Is that not the situation now with Ngaki at West Ham, do you think?
You've got so many players, bro. You've got so many players now that the club, if you're half and half whether to sign someone, with all this income that they haven't had for 3 months or 4 months or whatever it's been, people don't realise football businesses don't have a load of money in the bank. They're waiting for their next lot of income off Sky, waiting for their next lot of income off sponsors, waiting for their next income of partners, waiting for their next gate money, season tickets. So they're trying to work in advance of something that they're not in advance of now. It's going to be so difficult. Hopefully, I mean, the Premier League clubs should be okay. But after that, you're going to be, you know, top half of the Championship, okay. But from after there, it's going to be really difficult. Even the Premier League, if we go back maybe a month or two late for next season, say, and it's still behind closed doors, that's a lot of income. Bearing in mind what you boys said, the club were going to go on a little bit further because we got more gates. There ain't going to be any gates.
No gates,
is it?
Yeah, I wonder what they're going to do
some
about like, season tickets and that, because they can't guarantee that we can go yet. So how are they going to sell them?
Well, how are they going to sell them? And are they going to sell them on a basis of not as many fans allowed in the ground, say for a 60,000 capacity, allowing 25, 20 in there? And then all of you would be drawn out the app with your season tickets, wouldn't you? Because you've got to have those spaces apart. It's so many things to think about. But I think it's going to be behind closed doors, I would say, until the new year. To the new year at least, isn't it? Which is going to be strange, even watching it on the telly for all of us, isn't it? Because I watched the German league and
shocking, isn't it?
It looks like a testimonial game.
Yeah, it does.
It doesn't. And you know, there's no. I can't tell you as a pro the difference between playing in front of a crowd and not in front of a crowd.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Imagine at West Ham, you go 1-0 down to Liverpool at home, and then you get that roar, won't you, from the West Ham fans? You know, there's that roar, isn't there, the initial roar. And then all of a sudden, a couple of tackles go in, and then the roar gets louder. Yeah. And all of a sudden, you've got two corners on the trot, and then it's really building. Don't tell me that don't make a difference. Of course it makes a difference. Yeah. Particularly if you've got the right crowds with you, you know. And even to the effect of silencing crowds. Like, you know, you went to the big games, Liverpool, Man U, like, we've got to play well the first 20 minutes. Don't give them a goal start, otherwise they're going to keep going on and on and on. You keep them down to 20 minutes, but there's no crowd now, is it? It's going to be no crowd. It's going to be a different game. Different game. Tough. It's going to be tough.
Yeah,
but what you're gonna find is that you've got to be really vocal. Your teams have got to be vocal. If you imagine playing look, you've all played Sunday morning football, haven't you? Yeah. So you've got to be vocal from the line. So your manager's got to be vocal. Your coaches have got to be vocal. You've got to generate a kind of atmosphere, haven't you? So the likes of Mark and Declan, you know, and Cresswell, you know, the British boys. Yeah. These have got to be the vocal boys that get the others going. Because you've got to generate that kind of atmosphere between yourselves.
Do you think it could work the other way as well, though, Tony? Someone like Anderson, for argument's sake, and Haller, who fans sort of not boo like that, but they moan when they make a mistake on a trip. Do you reckon that will give them the chance to try it again, to express themselves again, because they ain't got the fans on their back?
Yeah, and you'll find like the players that I played with in the past, you know, like I was growing up with as a kid, that you think, Kai, there's no danger. He's going to be a top player. They get out in front of a crowd and their bottle goes.
Oh, yeah.
You know, or they know they're on the telly and their bottle goes. And I've seen some top players go like that, or who I thought was going to be top players, should I say. But on the other hand, like you're saying, which is a good point, you know, the flair players, they're not, if it doesn't come off for Anderson, you know, when he flicks one round the corner, goes round the other side, and like, if it doesn't come off, like you'd all do, you all go, what's he doing? Like, you know, you get that groan, don't you? So they don't try it again, do they? Mm-hmm. They don't try it again. But what is going to be interesting, because it would have been interesting if we were behind closed doors, maybe not as much now. Can you imagine all the banter that was going on a pitch and how he was getting at players and, you know, like, and maybe it was a little bit language going about. With a lot of the foreign players there now, you're not quite going to hear it, are you? Mm. But you're going to hear, I think, I don't know how we're going to work out our microphones, put it that way. It's going to be interesting, isn't it? Because you can't hear nothing when the crowd's there. You crowd can't hear anything. What's going on the pitch, can you? Particularly at, say, the London Stadium, you might have heard, if you was in the chicken run, you could hear quite a few things going on, couldn't you? but you're not going. You don't hear nothing, but you're going to hear if those microphones come on. You're going to hear some come out, aren't you? Eh? I'm going to be making apologies every 2 seconds, aren't I? In the commentaries. Really sorry for what he said there, you know.
Yeah, bang on. I agree. Tony,
what do you think about our situation going back? When we go, because I'll be honest, I'm really worried about we're going to get relegated. I think we're in big trouble. Do you think they can get out of it?
Do you know, the thing is now is I would have said yes, but you don't know. You don't know. I would have backed us to get out of it, but you don't know now because it's like playing a different game when they go back, isn't it? It's not.
Yeah, and there's 6 pointers. I mean, the home games with Watford and Villa are like must-win games, and they've got playing with no fans. It's going to be so hard.
Yeah, but you look at the Tottenham game away. When we were going to play them, they wouldn't have had Harry Kane. Now they have Harry Kane. You know, that's another thing against us.
And also the Tottenham game away, they won't have our fans in there because they're pretty noisy, aren't they? I mean,
they don't like us going there.
No, I know they hate it, don't they? But
we like going there, don't we, Frank?
We do
because there was no one when was it Antonio scored, wasn't it? The goal
Yeah.
I mean, I think I was commentating another ground, and I heard the score come through because like we do, you know, as fans, you fear the worst, don't you? But I generally get the scores coming through, and I thought, well, that's handy. Oh, I hope they can hold on to that. You know, I hope they can hold on to that. And then I heard them say, they're playing well. You know what I mean? I hope they can hold on to that. And when I heard it, all I could think of was my mates who were sitting probably with you lot there, about 30 odd mates, what it was like. And that, you know, if you got locked in, you say, yeah, all right, go and lock us in for 3 hours. We don't care. We're stuck
Yeah, bang on. It was a great day. Tony, it's been a pleasure, mate.
There's one thing there, sorry about. We played, West Ham played Spurs in the League Cup at Spurs, didn't we? Who was the left-footed striker? He played for us. Oh, he didn't have a particularly good time, but he got 2 goals in the league.
Oh, no, Maiga.
Maiga, that's it.
Maiga.
Ah, yeah, he scored.
No, I think we won. Was it 2-0? We beat him there in the League Cup.
2-1, yeah.
2-1.
And it was, you lot were singing 2-1, even Maiga scored. You remember that one?
Yeah.
So I'd done the commentary on that game, you know. So it was terrific. So I've had to come out, it was opposite the tunnel at Spurs, the other side of the ground. But you lot got locked in, didn't you? You know? So I've come out the stand and I've got to walk around the pitch to get out the ground. And you lot are locked in. And for the cup games, you get more of a allocation of tickets, don't you? So it's a much better atmosphere, isn't it? League Cup or FA Cup.
Yeah.
So I've had to walk past, and I've got my sky coat on. I thought, I'm going to keep my head down, you know, because someone's going to give me a bit of stick here. It was only you lot stuck in there, but I knew I was going to get some. So I've seen me mate at the front, one of my mates, Bagsy, I think, at the front, and all them. So I went over and, like, you know, we're all having a little bit of a huddle because it was a lovely night, wasn't it? Great win and all that. And then I got spotted, and the whole end sung my name. And I've never been so humbled in all my life. Do you know what I mean? It was like singing one Tony Gale and even Keith Hackett songs and all that. Like, you know, I just thought, I want to go back in there and have a drink now. I don't want to go out the ground. I want to go in there. That was brilliant. So anyone who was there that night and who sung, just tell them a big thank you for me. That means a lot. A big thank you. It means a lot.
Yeah, time, as I said a minute ago, it's been an absolute pleasure. Thank you so much for your time. Great stories there, and it's been good hearing your take on most things, and we really do appreciate that.
Yeah, and one thing we will say, listen, we've got to keep supporting West Ham no matter what. We go through thick and thin, you know, and there's bad times coming up now with all these ground closures, but as soon as we're back, you know, I'll be delighted to see you all there. Okay? And let's stay up, and I'm sure we will. Good luck, Boise.
Thank you, Tony.
Thank you all for watching Current Blue Army TV. Please make sure you hit that like, share and subscribe button. We'll see you soon.